there's actually a couple of things that you can do to change that, to remove the trauma, or to remove the effect of the trauma. But there's a few things that are required. One of them, it's, have you ever played pretend?
Pretend?
Like when you were a kid, you play pretend?
I still play pretend.
Okay. Oh, let me ask you a question. When you were a kid, what did you play pretend at?
So my grandmother left lots and lots of slips, you know, old-fashioned slips, and I would just layer them up, you know, put as many as I could get on, and then I would take some material or something. There's a photograph of me, you know, sort of all dressed up in my pretend clothes. I don't know that I always played the same pretend. With my sister, we would pretend that we shared a room, we had single beds, we would go into our bed from where you normally have the sheet under your neck, so you'd go into the bottom of the bed and then you'd lift up the corner and we'd be like on our ships or our boats, you know, talking to each other across the room. So there was that pretend, but then there was also, you know, this sort of, you know, sort of Eurocentric style, wealthy young girl, or, you know, I don't know that I ever saw myself as an older woman, but I pretended that, you know, these were my clothes and I had beautiful clothes and, you know, I don't know, something out of Europe in the 1800s.
Right, I got you. So let me ask you this: when you and your sister were playing pretend and you guys were on your boats, you knew that those were your beds, right? With the sheets and everything?
You mean while we were playing pretend?
Yeah.
Or were we really into it?
While you were playing pretend.
Okay, that's a long time ago. I'm not
sure. Yeah, but reason I'm asking is because you weren't asleep, right?
No.
Okay, and you were active and awake and everything, but you and your sister were in the ships, you know, playing back and forth, talking to each other. But what I'm saying is, for you, it wasn't just being in your bed with the sheets up and pretend sails. You were actually out on the water and you're actually out across and yeah, that's called trance.
Okay.
Most people think that you have to be asleep, hypnotized, you know, and waving a little watch and for trance to happen. No, you just have to be absorbed and you have to be focused.
Okay.
So when you're taking those emotional images and those things that happened and you're extracting the lesson, you have to be absorbed and focused. If there's that critical part of the brain that's saying this isn't going to work, I'm not going to get any change from this, I don't see how this is helping. If that's all going on, then you're right, it won't. But if you can get absorbed and get focused, it doesn't really matter what you believe. It just do the drills and change the neurology.
What are the drills?
Okay, so when you think about that particular incident that you want to deal with, let's do this now. Let's just go ahead and run through this and together while I got you on the class. I want you to think of a time that you saw something you really wanted. I mean, you really wanted it.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what it is, but you made a plan, you decided you wanted it, you made a plan, you went after it, and you got it.
Oh, I have to get it?
You nailed it. I mean, not just nailed, you crushed it. You nailed it. You got it.
Okay. How, this has to be when I was young or older or?
Anytime. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
But when you get that image in your head, I want you to stand the way you were standing, breathe the way you were breathing, let all the feelings come back, let all that stuff come flooding back in, and remember the way that you felt when you got it. You feel that?
Yeah.
Point to where you feel it in the body.
Okay.
All right. And somewhere in the space out in front of you, that image, that event lives. You touch it, you see it, or not see it, but can you grab that?
Yes.
Now I want you to reach out and grab it with both hands.
Okay.
Spread it out as big as a screen on the IMAX theater, big as you can. Notice what happens to the feeling in your body. Better or worse?
It's throughout from my toes to my head.
See, yeah. Now shrink that image back down. Notice what happens to the feelings in your body.
Must I?
Yeah. No, you don't, actually. Go ahead, pull it back out and make it as big as you want. Keep it just as big as you want. Now I want you to trace the frame. Trace the frame around it so you know how big it is. And in your mind, I want you to understand what color that is. You don't have to tell me. Just know what color that frame is.
The frame?
Yeah, the frame of that whole event that you've got in your hands, that great big frame. Yeah, I want you to notice what color that frame is. And I want you to take that event and pull it around you like a big blanket full of that particular color. And just wrap that around you. And notice what happens to the feelings in your body.
It's still there, but contained within my body.
You can do that with anything. It doesn't have to be a good feeling. It can be a bad feeling. Now let's do something else. Go ahead and take that blanket off and hold it back up in front of you.
Okay.
Now go ahead and shrink it down so it's teeny tiny, about the size of a Frisbee.
Okay.
And throw it behind you as far as you can. Throw it over the horizon. Just and notice what happens to the feeling in your body.
It's about the size of a pinhead.
About gone, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and reach your hand up and turn your hand into a big Frisbee magnet and suck that image back. When you got it, then you can stretch it back out and pull it down around you, and you can keep it forever.
Oh, I love it.
You can hang on to that.
Okay.
And try to turn it off and notice what happens instead.
It's just there.
Wait, you mean you're stuck feeling good? Oh, man. I'm so sorry. But yeah, you can do that with anything. You can take any event, it's your neurology. You play with it and you learn how your body encodes events. You take those events and you can, like I said, you can take that event, you can white it out, black it out, whatever feels better. Take your little magic pen and write the lesson down. Take as long as you need.
So with a negative event, you can just shrink it and then throw it behind you over the horizon.
You can. I recommend go ahead and pull the lesson out first.
No, I mean, so when you pull the lesson out of a negative event, okay, so for a positive event, you nailed it, okay. I guess the lesson is, for me, do your work, do your best work with the right vehicle, you're going to be great. But with a negative event, how do you, like, some things you don't have control over. So what's the lesson? Just that's life?
No, the only things that you don't have control over are the things outside of your awareness.
Mm. Mm.
Once you're aware of something, you can control it.
Mm.
Well, only to a degree.
Sure.
I mean, if you're a child and you're starving and you're hungry, you can't control that.
Fair. But there are things that you can do to change it.
So
I mean,
I don't want to get into
like,
that.
Right. I mean, but just being aware that you're hungry says, okay, well, I'm aware of it. Now what do? I go get something to eat. And I realize for some people that might be harder than others.
Right.
But the principle is still the same. If a person doesn't know that they're hungry, if a person doesn't know that their leg is hurt, or if there's no pain, then we don't know that there's an injury. You know what I'm saying?
So let me just
those,
ask, okay.
Those negative events, once you take that negative event, you can just toss it. You can manipulate it and just shrink it down and toss it. But if you don't get the lesson out, the subconscious is going to say, well, I need to repeat that event so that I can learn the lesson, because there's something that I learn through going through those types of events.
Okay, so let's pick a horrific event, just because I want to understand what the lesson can be. Let's say for a child in a war-torn country who watches their parents and family get killed. What's the lesson in that?
Well, the lesson could be not to be in places where bombs are going off.
Yeah, but you're a child. You can't. So, in other words,
right,
the message is take
but a child's not going to learn great lessons about the world and philosophy and things of that nature. As far as the rights and wrongs of war, outside of 4, 5, 6, 8-year-old understanding. They'll know bombs are bad.
Okay.
Bombs kill mom and daddy. Stay away from bombs.
So
that'll be the lesson to a child, is stay away from war and violence and things of that nature. They'll probably be traumatized as far as loud noises and things of that sort go. They'll expect all relationships to end suddenly and tragically. They'll have all sorts of trauma from going through something like that. But as far as the lesson goes, that's hard to say. It depends on the child and the situation and the all the externals. But as far as for you, the things that you have been through, your subconscious is going to know the lesson. You don't have to consciously know the lesson. Your subconscious is going to know what it needs to pull out of that. Well,
so it might not be something that I can write down.
Not physically, like with pen and paper write down. It won't come out immediately. But as far as going through the exercise, just going through the motions is enough to extract the lesson for your subconscious sake.
Okay.
And
I'll try it.
Yeah, there's more that we can do. We can go in depth if you want to do some one-on-one time. We can do that, and we can get it unpacked. But for the sake of this course, and the time that we have, Yeah, I highly recommend taking those things on a shittiness scale from like 0 to 10. They're about a 3 or 4, somewhere around there, where they just suck, and you don't want those things to be filters as far as ruining days or keeping your vibrational level low. Uh, those sorts of things, you can absolutely clear them and get rid of them in 15, 20 minutes with just
Wow.
doing that exercise of extracting lessons and getting rid of the event. There, like I said, there's more stuff we can do as far as the neurology goes, and if you want to go into full-blown child regression, we can, like I said, we can do all that too, but there's that takes more time than what we have today.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't want to keep taking time. I'm sure other
No,
people have.
No. I want you to ask questions. Questions are good, but just for your sake, I would at least like you to know that we can, but we wouldn't be able to today.
Okay.
Tell me
Thank you.
your name again.
Marie Louise.
I'm sorry?
Marie Louise.
Marie Louise? My mom's name is Mary Louise.
Wow.
So yeah, I feel more connected to you because of that little similarity.
Yeah, and as do I to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you being on.
Can I say, listening to Marie talking about the tragedy, I can relate to that from a tragedy that I had to unpack in order to communicate and create and to make deep, lifelong friendships. There was a violent, well, Marie, you saw my show. You saw what I lived through, but there was a violent incident in my home that I wasn't protected from. And the police were late and my father was late and it was horrible. So the lesson that I learned in that evening was not to breathe.
Mm.
So if you don't breathe, you don't feel it.
Mm.
So I was 6. My parents took me to doctors. I had sleep apnea. So I was and then I wake myself up because I couldn't catch my breath. Nobody could figure out what to do with it. They gave me these retainers. But what they missed is that I learned from that not to breathe because I had to be tied up and watch this violent thing happen in my home. So I learned how to. It wasn't until I had a speech therapist who had me pretend, like Jon was saying, with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. She was like, what is going on with this hyperventilating? And she would have me play things out. And it made me think of what Jon said. They needed to physically find out where that pain was in my body to treat the symptom. Because I had clearly learned the lesson and so did my body. And that first therapist didn't get through it. I had a speech therapist in high school, and then I had another one in college, and then in graduate school. And finally, in graduate school, I took my first deep breath. And it was because my teacher at the time said, we can talk about you lisping and not breathing and asthma all day long. I want you to talk about what you think is true. And I started telling stories. And he would put his hands on my body as I was telling the story and say, let that go. Okay, and let that go, but you have to tell it, right? I needed, your body learns it, but how you unlearn it and see what the lesson is, the lessons are gonna change every time. Because as a 6-year-old, the lesson was, if something terrible happens, if you just don't breathe, you won't feel it. But really what the lesson was is that you actually deserve to be protected and somebody was not on their game protecting you. And now that you're an adult, you can choose people who protect you.
Okay.
But the lesson changed, right? Before it was just breathe. And I'm like, well, I don't want to breathe in the speech pathology class and I don't want to play with motherfucking Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood doll or whatever, where they were having me act it out. I was like, I just can't sleep. And I talk all fucked up because I breathe like that. I'm all fucked up physiologically. But the lesson I learned, don't breathe. Okay, somebody said, okay, what happens if you breathe and something happens? Okay, good, you could breathe through that. Okay, but actually that wasn't the deepest lesson. So when you gave the lesson of like war, it was like, yeah, Jon's right. It's gonna be the bombs blow up. Don't fuck with bombs. Don't go anywhere where there's loud noises and bombs. You wouldn't want to live in a military town where they're always detonating things. But that lesson is going to change as an adult as you learn more things and as you unpack them. That really resonated with me.
So in terms of your speech therapist touching your body and saying, okay, let go of that, is that also part of what helped you sort of making a connection to the physical place in your body where you were holding that memory?
No, all it did was make me aware of I wasn't breathing.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't until I got to graduate school and I started talking through things in story that I could. And then the final lesson was with Jonathan. It was talking.
Okay.
It was, you can talk to someone and be safe, and you can breathe while you're doing it. And he was really coaching me. That's how he got me. He was coaching. He would write, he would repeat what I said to make sure I understood. He would ask what I believed. And I was like, oh, right. And I was like, well, why can't I breathe with you? He's like, because you feel safe. And I went,
because what?
You feel safe. That was the lesson, is that as a child, someone was supposed to make you feel safe. But now that you're an adult, you can do that for yourself by choosing people that make you feel safe. And that's what I learned in talking to him, because I was forced not to be in physical confrontation with Jonathan. We were long distance for 7 months. So all of it was safety, emotional safety in talking. And he made it safer and safer and safer. And I was like, how is this so easy? I have not been breathing with people my entire fucking life. And he was like, because you chose someone you feel safe with. And I'd never done that before. And I always been like, he fine. I'm trying to get in bed with him. He fine. But you know, the third date, I had the wedding dress picked out. I was like, not worried about that. But so I guess the point I was making is that the lesson changes as you get older, but you have to know the very first time you learned it. That's when you start unpacking it.
Okay.
I learned
Thank
something
you.
from you today, Jonathan.
Say again.
I learned something from you today, Jonathan.
Yay.
All right, I'm gonna shut up.
Something wrong with her.
Any other questions, anybody?
What's next?
Well, if you guys want, you can. I will send you a link. You can get on one-on-one with me for about 30, 45 minutes. And if you want to go further in any of this or talk about any of this, we can do that one-on-one. The next step is I have all of this stuff that I ran through very quickly today broken down into 1 week courses. So in each week, we can go through this more in depth if you want to do it that way too. Just reach out after this. I'll send some links out for you guys, and you can get back to me through there. That sound good?
Sounds good. Yes.
And y'all should do it because he won't do that. He won't coach me anymore. Like,
Well, because he's married.
but I still want to coach, but he won't coach me. He wouldn't even tell me what he's gonna do today. It's like,
You just want me to do the face reading.
I do. You won't coach me anyway. Anybody else got?
Pay him, he'll coach you. How about that, John?
Beg pardon?
Pay it.
Okay, we're recording.
So yeah, formally speaking, we can go forward with the class if you want to. I'll make those available for you guys. Other than that, I need to go pick up my kids and get my weekend started. You enjoy that. let me know how the stuff works for you. Do it. Okay. Go through it. Get that Facebook post. Go over there and go through those 3 question types, because that was part of the attraction generation that I was going to build into this, but I didn't have time to cover it today. But get those 3 questions and go through those and the 3 question types and learn about them, and then let me know how it works for you. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
John.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate you being on today. Thank you.